down and back, down and back, down and back, down and back. We'd probably run about 40 of those and then have to go play a game. Our star players would be hurt all the time. They weren't taken care of the way they needed to be taken care of.
The audio you just heard did not come from a frustrated fan or a television commentator looking for attention. It allegedly comes from a former Vanderbilt player speaking out about what really took place behind closed doors during Stephanie White's coaching tenure in Nashville. Those claims have quickly sparked discussion and raised serious questions about what may have been happening away from the spotlight. And if even a small portion of these unverified allegations proves to be true, it could explain exactly why the Indiana Fever seemed to be falling apart right before our eyes.
It was pointless. Most of the time, her film was incorrect. Like, it would be like, oh, she's not a shooter, we're not going to guard her, and then she'd make 10 threes against us, and she'd have an all-time scoring game.
Pay attention to that specific detail about the film room. When a coaching staff allegedly misidentifies opposing shooters to the point where they hit 10 three-pointers in a single college game, that is not just a mistake. It is a complete failure in preparation and scouting. Fast forward to the WNBA today, and many of the same defensive issues appear to be showing up at the professional level. Opposing guards are consistently getting wide-open looks because the rotations seem fundamentally broken, and the scouting reports often appear ineffective. But those defensive breakdowns may only be scratching the surface when it comes to the alleged culture being created behind the scenes.
Honestly, we just kind of watched. We didn't really break anything down the way we should have, I don't think. Practices were entirely too long. Like, we're in there for over the time, like 4 hours, 4.5 hours of practice. Didn't matter. And she'd run us to death. So then our legs are tired for the game.
This is where the alleged pattern becomes impossible to ignore. You cannot push athletes through 4.5-hour practices and expect them to still have fresh legs in the fourth quarter. The effects eventually show up when the game is on the line. Right now, the Fever's core rotation is carrying a heavy workload, and the signs of late-game fatigue are becoming increasingly noticeable on the court. When you watch elite players like Aliyah Boston or Kelsey Mitchell trying to close out games, the exhaustion is often visible. If a coaching staff is prioritizing grueling endurance work over strategic preparation, proper recovery, and effective rest management, it risks hurting the very players it depends on most. But according to this leaked audio, the most troubling allegations extend far beyond demanding practice sessions.
Straw was, golly, the straw that broke the camel's back, I suppose, is I got in trouble, I think, one time because I was in my therapy session and it went over a little bit. So I was a little bit late for practice and my therapist called and told her, like, hey, she's going to be late. We went a little bit over today, but she needed it, mentally. And I still got punished. I had 2 weeks.
I want to be absolutely clear about this. These are still unverified allegations coming from an anonymous source, and it should be treated as such. However, if there is any truth to the claim that a collegiate athlete was allegedly subjected to 2 weeks of 4 a.m. cardio sessions simply because they were late after attending a mental health therapy appointment, then the conversation extends far beyond basketball. That would point to a reportedly toxic environment that tears players down rather than helping them grow and succeed. A coach's primary responsibility is to support and protect their players, not allegedly punish them for seeking professional help. And if that reported coaching culture follows a team into a professional locker room, already dealing with enormous expectations and constant scrutiny, it has the potential to create a very dangerous situation behind the scenes.
Off the sidelines. The mistakes are no longer small. They're being attacked by opposing coaches. The rotations are being exposed. The defense is being exposed. The lack of offense flow is being exposed. The inability to manage Caitlin Clark's impact is being exposed.
The alleged connection between what reportedly happened at Vanderbilt and what we are currently witnessing with the Indiana Fever is becoming increasingly difficult for many observers to dismiss. The similarities are drawing attention, and the questions continue to grow louder with every passing game. What is unfolding on the court does not simply look like a rookie adjustment period or the natural growing pains of a young team. It appears to be a much deeper structural problem, one that continues to expose itself every time the Fever step onto the floor. At the center of this discussion is the challenge of maximizing a player like Caitlin Clark. Opportunities like this rarely come around in professional sports. The Fever were handed a generational talent, a player who arrived with unprecedented attention, sold out arenas, record-breaking television ratings, and a level of popularity that expanded far beyond the WNBA itself. She brought excitement, momentum, and expectations, unlike anything the franchise had experienced before. Yet, despite all of that, the offensive system often appears outdated and unimaginative. The ball movement frequently stalls, off ball actions are limited, and there seems to be little effort to consistently create the type of opportunities that would fully utilize one of the greatest shooters in women's college basketball history. Instead of building a system around her strengths, the organization often looks overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. For weeks, much of the established WNBA media pushed back against criticism coming from fans. Supporters who questioned the offensive schemes, substitution patterns, and defensive rotations were often told they simply did not understand the game. Many were dismissed as newcomers who lacked basketball knowledge. Others were accused of creating controversy where none existed. But fans continued watching the games, and the same concerns continued appearing night after night. The reality on the floor kept speaking for itself. The eye test can reveal a lot. When the pick and roll defense breaks down repeatedly throughout a game, it becomes impossible to ignore. When the same mistakes continue happening possession after possession, fans do not need coaching credentials to recognize that something is wrong. If the alleged whistleblower's comments regarding film study and preparation contain any truth, it could help explain why defensive communication often appears so disorganized. Rotations arrive late, assignments are missed, and opponents repeatedly find open looks in critical moments. Preparation is everything at the professional level. The WNBA is too talented and too competitive for teams to survive without detailed scouting and disciplined execution. Yet there have been games where opposing teams appear comfortable running identical actions quarter after quarter while the Fever struggle to make meaningful adjustments. When the same weaknesses continue being exploited throughout an entire game, it naturally raises questions about what is happening behind the scenes before tip-off ever arrives. Great teams adjust. Great coaching staffs adapt. The Fever have often appeared unable to do either consistently. The physical side of the equation is equally concerning. The allegations from Vanderbilt describe players being pushed through excessively demanding practice schedules, and some fans believe they are seeing similar warning signs today. Watch the body language late in games. Watch the pace. Watch the defensive closeouts. There are stretches where players appear to be carrying extremely heavy legs long before the fourth quarter arrives. When a team's most important pieces are already exhausted heading into the final minutes, executing under pressure becomes significantly more difficult. Mistakes increase, defensive intensity drops, and close games begin slipping away. That is why this conversation extends beyond simple strategy. This is not just about play calling or substitution patterns. It is about whether player workloads are being managed effectively throughout an entire season. When fatigue becomes a recurring issue, it affects every aspect of performance. Shooting percentages decline, defensive focus disappears, and decision-making becomes less reliable. Over time, those small problems turn into major losses. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of the leaked audio, however, has nothing to do with X's and O's. It involves the alleged culture being created behind the scenes. Claims that teammates were allegedly encouraged to compete against one another in unhealthy ways are far more concerning than any tactical mistake. Talent alone does not win championships. Every successful team depends on trust, accountability, and genuine chemistry between players. That chemistry is the invisible foundation holding everything together. Once that foundation begins to crack, even the most talented roster can quickly find itself heading in the wrong direction.